Thanks for being here. This session will not talk too much about SharePoint, but I will talk about Azure Active Directory that, as you may know, is the foundation of Office 365. Every Office 365 installation and deployment has a back of Azure AD. Just a few words about me. I'm Davide. I'm Italian, so sorry for my accent. I'm the director and CDO of DBTek Limited here in Hong Kong, but I'm the former international development manager in Aruba, that is one of the biggest service providers in Europe. I'm also a Microsoft MVP in Visual Studio ALM. I'm a NIFTIT certified partner, me and my company. I'm a speaker and a trainer, a community contributor. I have one community here in Hong Kong and 2 communities back in Italy. I have more than 14 years of experience in IT, software development, etc. And on the bottom of the slide, you can find some way to reach me out. So let's have a brief introduction about the Azure AD for who doesn't know it. So Azure AD is the identity management as a service hosted on Azure. And of course, it offers identity and access management solution for both cloud application and on-premises application. It simplifies the user access to any, this is from the Microsoft website, they say from any cloud app. In reality, is in any app. It can be web apps, it can be desktop apps, it can be console application. Everywhere you need to have identity management, you can use AAD. Of course, nowadays they offer also the multi-factor authentication option. So you can just literally with a flag on the AAD, you can enable for your user the multi-factor authentication. And what is very nice is that your user can be able to do their operation in a self-service way on AAD. I mean, they can manage it themselves, they can change their password, they can change the details. As I said, you can use it to manage the identity and to manage the single sign-on to any cloud and on-premises web application, but also desktop application and other kind of applications. And it's already pre-integrated with Salesforce, Office 365, Box, and a great number of other third-party applications and services that use AAD to ensure the identity management and the authentication policies to the applications. As I said, you can use the multi-factor authentication, and the nice thing is that AAD works and integrates with virtually any platform and any technology. You can use it on your .NET development, you can use it on Java, you can use it on your iOS application, and whatever. And another nice thing is that it integrates with your on-premises AD. It means that if you already have an Active Directory hosted in your data center or on premises, you can integrate it with AAD, and it means that all the users you have on your on-premises Active Directory could be used to access any cloud application you publish and you integrate with AAD. It's enterprise ready and it's scaled in a very, very big way. Just as I said before, just think about that. Every single Office 365 deployment has one AAD instance to manage the user. So it means that it handles billions of authentication per day, and with more than 200 million of active users. So it's quite a big number. And it has 3.9 SLA. What is very, very useful for developers is that with AAD you can enable the multi-tenancy. It means that if you have your web application or your application that use your instance of AAD, you can literally, with just enable a flag on your AAD, let all the users worldwide that use their AAD to access your application. Of course, then you can manage who can access, who cannot, what is the provisioning, for example, for them. But you can reach a very, very great user base of 200 million users, potential user for your application. And it's just a flag on the configuration. About the integration with AAD, you have a lot of possibilities because it supports multiple protocols like OAuth 2.0, OpenID, SAML, and yes, Federation. And it also supports REST APIs for the management part. It means that you can configure and integrate your AAD using what they call the MS Graph APIs. This is a very huge API base in which the AAD APIs reside. And also there is a lot of SDKs that can be used to integrate the AAD into your applications. And we will see later. And my favorite part is that it's extensible. As you know, in every Active Directory, every object has a set of properties and fields you can use to store and to read information to and from. For example, for the user object, you have the username, the email, password, the expiration, something like that. AAD is extensible. It means that using the APIs, you can create for every object the new custom properties in which you can store your custom data. And this makes possible a lot of new scenarios in AAD integration because you can really use it for every single need you have about identity management and retrieving data about the users or the groups or the other AAD object. And I will have a demo about that later. This is also from the Microsoft website. This is directly from the Azure AD documentation portal. It's not very visible, but what you can see is that, as I said before, it works almost everywhere. You can have it on your iOS application, Android application, Xamarin application, or if you use different kind of technologies, you can integrate directly with OAuth or OpenID in every language, .NET, Java, AngularJS, etc. You have all the SDKs and all the documentation on how to integrate it with your application. So let's see how it works. Before seeing the demo, there is a few points that is necessary to know. First of all is that the management part of Azure AD is only on the old Azure portal. You know that Azure has two portals, the classic one, the old one, and the new one with all the charts and with a lot of things. Right now, the management of AD is possible only through the classic portal. They will bring everything in the new portal, but we don't know how and when. Another important thing is that some parameters that you may need, they are not shown on the portal. This, if you have to do normal integrations, everything you need is on the portal. If you need to extend with custom properties, it's not on the portal. You have to use another way to retrieve the parameters, and this other way is to use the Graph APIs to retrieve the information. And I will show you later. About Office 365 users, again, every Office 365 has an Azure AD on its back. It means that you can use it and manage it and take advantage of it. But out of the box, you don't have the possibility to go to the Azure portal to manage it. What you can do is just go into the Office 365 admin portal, and on the left in the menu, you have a button like Manage Your AAD. If it's the first time you click on it, you will be brought to Azure website, in which they ask you to create a new subscription for Azure. In this case, it's a free subscription. You don't have to pay. Indeed, they don't ask you for the credit card like usually they do. And you create this free subscription, and with that you can manage your AAD, and you can use it to integrate it in every other application you want. Again, as I said before, you can use it for web apps and desktop apps or console application. In case of native apps, you will have the silent authentication. It means that you can provide, your user provide username and password, and then with APIs or all the other protocols, you can query the AAD to know if the credentials are okay. So nothing is shown to the user. For web apps, the flow is a little bit different because it uses OAuth or OpenID. And sorry, it means that the user provides just the username, and when you click login, Microsoft managed authentication form is shown, like when you log into Office 365, right? We'll be prompted with this form in which you enter the password. It's something else directly from Microsoft on AAD. So all the process of password verification and credential verification is done on AAD side, and when it's done, you have a callback to your application with the status of the verification or the token or whatever. So desktop apps, silent authentication. Web apps, you have the not silent, I mean with the form, the third-party form for login. Actually, there is a workaround for this. But as I said, don't tell Microsoft. There is a way to have a silent authentication. Well, there is a typo. Silent authentication even on web apps, and there is a little workaround. I will not show it now, but if you're interested in it, just ask me about that later. So let's start with the demos. So, this is the Azure Management Portal. I created this Active Directory just for tests. And as very first thing you have to do when you want to integrate AAD in one of your applications is to create here Azure AD application. That is not the actual application, it's just a connector for your application to be able to integrate with it. And for example, I created few of them. And also, if you see, this is created in automatic way. You have the Office 365 management APIs already on your AAD. This is because, as I said, again, every Office 365 has AAD, use AAD, so they have already made an application for managing everything about Office 365 on AAD. This is standard. So I created some demo applications, and every user, by default, every user that is already in your AAD can access the application. Or if you want to control the users that can access it, you can just flag this to yes, and it means that not every user can access. Users by default cannot access, and you can enable the users you want to access the application. On the application configuration, you have few parameters. The two important ones is client ID and the keys. This is the two parameters you need in your application to access AAD. The key can be for 1 year or for 2 years. And so if you use it, remember to note somewhere that the key is gonna expire in 1 or 2 years. And then you can create also on AAD application, you have to specify if you will use AAD to connect with a web application or a desktop application. In this case, is for a web application, so you have to specify the return URL in which the AAD will send the callback after the authentication. If your reply URL is not listed here, your application will not work because is not allowed to have a different reply URL from what is written here. And then, of course, you can have some other settings. So the first demo I have is just a normal MVC application based on .NET 4.5 and whatever you want. So it's already ready to be connected to AAD. In this case, when I created it, I didn't select the AAD authentication mode that you can select it when you create a new application. I just used the normal authentication way. But what I can do directly in Visual Studio is right-clicking on the project, and I can select Configure Azure AD Authentication. When I do it, it recognizes that I already selected another kind of authentication, in this case the individual Azure account, but I can select to override it and to connect to AD. And I'm prompted to select the domain of the AD. And if I want to create a new application that I've shown you before, or I can use the client ID and redirect URI to access the application. In this case, since it used the OpenID Connect, I don't need the client secret. I just need the client ID that, again, is just this. Okay? Just with this and the domain, I can access the application. I can try. The domain is this one. Yes, SPSHK.microsoft.com. When you create an AAD and you don't associate any other domain, any custom domain, you will have the name of the AAD you created plus onmicrosoft.com like domain. And I will use the already created application here. So I take the client ID, I put it here, and the URI is this. I don't need to read directory data, so I can just hit contact Azure. In my Visual Studio, I already have the credentials for Azure, so I don't need to do anything else. If you never sign on Azure in your Visual Studio, you will be prompted for authentication. And when it is opened, it's done. What is happened is that they changed your application a bit, a few files, and they added some configuration in the web config, for example. This was added behind the scenes with all the parameters of your AD. And now, if I try to log in, if it works, I should be able to log in with on the AAD. I have just few users. I have the admin user that I will show you later. I have this user that is just my account when I created the AAD, and I have the test01 user that I'm going to use. Okay. Let me open up incognito mode, because if not, you try to use the token it has, and it's, in my case, it's not the right one. Okay, I'm prompted directly to the authentication. You will see that is demo1. Oops, sorry. That is the name of my application. And if I try to log in with test, like that, here, test01. You see that it tried to log in using a Microsoft service, and it's, oh, okay, my application went down. The nice thing is that now the application is already signed on. I created the token, so if I refresh, I should be able to log into the application with my, yeah, indeed. I log into my application using the token. It's already created, so I don't have to reinsert again password and username. And if you can, I don't know if you can read, but here is the name of the user I've just used to login. So the login process worked without writing any single line of code. I just configured the application via Visual Studio, and I didn't write anything, and it worked without anything. This is because it's already integrated with OpenID, and it works out of the box. But I know that this is not maybe possible for every application. So what happens if you already have a legacy application that uses another kind of authentication mechanism, and you want to integrate with Azure AD? Well, you can use, for example, the OAuth 2.0 authentication method or protocol. And again, it's very, very, very simple. This I created is a very simple application. I only have 2 web forms, the default one and the login form. What I have here is just a login page, a default page that will show if you are authenticated or not, and it will show the username if you are. And I have the login form to, of course, to login. And I can show you that, the only code I need to do it is just this. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines of code to use the Open Authenticate, the OAuth 2.0 on AAD. If you know how OAuth works, you have to contact the OAuth source to request a token, or to request an authorization code, and then you can request the token with the authorization code. So it's 2 steps authentication, and this is the first one. You can query this path to retrieve the authorization code, and this is actually the URL that shows you the authentication form of the AAD from Microsoft. When you have the callback, this function is called, and you can again query the AAD requesting the token. And in the token, you have all the information about your users. You have the username, you have the tenant ID, you have also all the custom properties if you have created them on your AAD. The only thing you have to do before doing this is to install a NuGet package that in this case is this one. It helps you to create the REST, the API calls, the OAuth API calls. It's not mandatory. I mean, you can use it, or you can just write yourself all the code you need to query the AAD. It's just a kind of HTTP call. But if they have created it, why not use it? It's very, very simple. So you add this package to your application, and with these few lines of codes, using the client ID, and in this case also the client secret, that is the other parameter we have on the portal, you can query AAD. In this case, I used the second application I called with a lot of fantasy demo 2. And you can see that client ID, is this 7, and client ID is, I used anyway the demo 1. My fault. And in this case, again, I will use the incognito mode of the browser to avoid using tokens. Okay, just a very, 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 very simple form with a label and a login button. In this case, I'm not authenticated. I try to log in. As you see, I have only the box for the login. I don't have the box for the password because I can't provide the password to the authentication. So, and I try to log in with the same user as before. And again, I'm prompted with the login screen, in which I have already set the username. Because you can pass the username, you have to pass the username to AED, and you can ask AED to, okay, prompt it, because if it's okay, the user just set the password. If it's not, the user can edit it and set the password. And again, if I let me put a breakpoint here, sign in. Okay. As I said before, your login, your reply URL should be the same as what is in your AED. In this case, the reply URL is localhost 41480 login SPX, and probably I don't have it in my application. Indeed, I have only this one that is not the one I want. So what I can do is just take the here, take the URL, put it in the Active Directory configuration, save. Just wait a bit that it's saved. Okay, done. Now I can come here and okay, let's do it again. I have my login screen, take the user, login. The user is already set. Okay, I'm back, and if I see the token, if I see the authentication result, okay, my video studio is not collaborating. I'm sure you cannot read it, but you have in the authentication result, you have all the details about your users, like the username, the given name, family name, the identity provider that has been used, in this case the application, the password expression, and whatever, and a lot of other things. And now I'm logged in. And this can be used in every application you have, even if it's written in .NET 1, or even if it's not written in .NET, you can just integrate with OAuth and take advantage of Azure AD. But what is probably the most interesting thing is the extensibility of Azure AD. As I said before, you can create your custom properties on AAD, and you can do it directly via the REST APIs, via the Microsoft Graph APIs. To do that, you need to have the parameter that is not written on the portal, because on the portal, again, you have the client ID, you have the key here, but to access the Graph APIs in order to do management, you need to have the object ID of your AAD application. To obtain it, you can go to this website. That is the Graph Explorer. It's something that Microsoft prepared for us. And if you log in with a user that has enough permissions on your AAD, you can query your AAD graph APIs directly from here to obtain all the information you need. So if I visit this website, it's just a very, very simple ASP.NET website. I sign in with the admin user I've shown you before. That is full control on AAD. And after I log in, I have full rights to query the graph APIs of my Azure Active Directory. For example, I can list all the applications. Okay. You see here, I have the graph Windows.NET SPSHK test, that is my domain on AAD/applications. And what I have is the result of all the details about my application and a lot of things that is not shown on the portal. And I also have the object ID, that is what I need to then access the graph APIs in order to manage all the AAD parameters. And this is also the same thing I need if, for example, I want to query about just one application. I can take the object ID, put it in the request, and again, I have all the details about these applications. And with another query, I can see all the extension properties, that is the custom properties that I created on my AAD application. In this case, I already have one custom property that is called custom username. And the structure of this is extension plus unique ID plus custom the name of the extension property. To manage it is, again, very, very simple. What you can do is, if you are in .NET, just install the graph client. That is, again, another NuGet package. That, again, is not mandatory, but is a helper to let you write less code. Because what it does is just create for you the REST API calls in get, put, post, etc. And with these, you can have something like this page. This page called my AAD, and let's see if internet works. Okay. Via the graph APIs, I can have a list of all the extension I created, and as you see, I just have one custom username. I can have the list of the users, for example. I can manage them. I can add users. I can do different things. And via the APIs, I can create another extension. So, for example, if I need to store in my AAD the ID card number of the user for any reason, I can just create a new extension property called ID card number. Add extension. What happens is that with the code I've written, it calls the APIs, create for me the extension, and voila. It's created here. If I go back to the Graph Explorer, the Graph Explorer usually takes a little while to list the extension properties because they need to be processed in all the AAD first. So, but as you can see here, we have it. Okay. So we have now two extension properties: the custom username that we had before, and the new ID card number that we just created. And to be able to do this is very, very, very simple. you just create in your code an ID client, which is an Active Directory client provided by the package I've shown you before. And you just select the application you want to create a property on. In my case, it was the demo3. When you retrieve the application, you can just call these 3 lines of code. Add an extension, update, and set changes. Done. With 3 lines of code, you can create new extension properties. And if you want to populate for your users the value of that extension properties, it's even simpler. Again, you have the AD client. You retrieve the user, for example, because in my case, the extension property is set to the user scope. It means every user you can set it for every user. So I retrieve the user and I set the value of the extended properties. Done. So it's very, very, very straightforward. It's very easy to use and very easy to integrate. The only thing you have to remember is to do that, you need to have the application object ID. And the only way you can have it right now, I don't know if they will change when they move to the new portal, but right now the only way is to use the Graph Explorer, or if you want to use directly the Graph APIs from your application, but this is already made, and retrieve it here. And you need it to do write and update operation on your Graph APIs. Okay. Just to summary, I've shown you something about the Azure AAD and how to integrate it in your application. We have seen that we have different ways, like using the OpenID that's already integrated in Visual Studio, so just a click and it's done. How to use the OAuth 2.0 authentication, again, very few lines of code, and how to use the extended properties and how to create and manage extended properties that you may want to use. We will talk about Azure AD, that is very robust and flexible and extensible ID management as a service provided by Azure. And remember, this is the backend for every Office 365 installation. It's very easy to extend it, as you've seen, and to integrate because it supports a lot of different protocols, and there is a very comprehensive set of APIs. We've seen just 2 things, but the APIs is very powerful. You can do almost everything on AAD, users, objects, application, etc. And it's very enterprise-grade identity provider because it's scalable. It has very nice SLAs, and you can use it almost everywhere in every your application. So, thanks for your time. If you have any question, you can ask me now, or I will be around until after lunch. So, feel free to contact me. Thank you.